Hello everybody, Charlie here. Welcome back to Conquering Kerbal Space Program. At the end of the last episode, I asked you guys, do you want to see this in real time? Do you want like more videos more often where I'm just kind of doing it more in real time? Or would you like me to just do this network, get it all set up, and then show you the time lapse of it? And the people have spoken, and that's why there's a bit of a gap. Here's your video. That's what you asked for. 25 hours of work later, this is the Duna Satellite Network. Just as a recap, when we set up a satellite network using RemoteTech, we have a delay in our signal transmissions. And so we have to navigate that using the flight computer, which is what you're seeing in the bottom right corner of the screen. Now, this satellite network is going to be both around Duna and Ike, and both networks are going to be very similar in how they're set up compared to the way they are in Kerbin. We're going to be making a triangle with our satellites. There are 3 relays around the somewhat of an equatorial orbit around both Ike and Duna. And they're going to form sort of a triangle. They're going to be equidistant from the equator, I suppose, or equidistant from Duna, each way, if you will. And they're going to have the exact same orbital period, which means that it takes them precisely the same amount of time to revolve around the body that they're orbiting as the other satellites do. And in order to do that, well, we need some precision. And precision was really tough with RemoteTech. You basically have to hit the accelerator as lightly as possible and then immediately kill it. And then about 35 seconds later, you get to see what happens when you did that. And if you went too far, well, you got to turn around, wait 35 seconds, the craft turns around. Then you have to hit the accelerator again in the other direction, maybe a little bit later this time. And again, wait about 35 seconds and see what happens. Of course, we do have time acceleration during this process, but a lot of times when you time accelerate after you hit the accelerator, you have a big risk of that accelerator hit going off while you're in time acceleration, meaning that if you're doing physics time warp, then it actually takes the amount of time you press the accelerator literally. In other words, if I have it going 1 time speed and I just tap shift for a second and then hit X to kill my acceleration, it will hold down shift for 1 second. However, if I'm in 5 times time acceleration, even though I pressed it down for 1 second, it will interpret that press as having been pressed while I'm in time acceleration, meaning that 1 second press is now a 5 second press, which obviously is going to way overshoot my target. So for the most part, I did a lot of this without any time acceleration at all. I did it between movements. If I told the time computer to do something, if I said, hey, flight computer, turn the vessel and face prograde, then I would time accelerate until that point because I can see it. But for the most part, everything else is kind of in real time. It had to be. So once I've got all 3 satellites orbiting Duna, then it's just a matter of time acceleration and in order for them to get aligned up properly. I have one satellite I call Sat 1, very unoriginal, I know. This is going to serve as sort of my template satellite. I'm going to get this one in the perfect position that I want it to be in, and then the other ones are going to be positioned relative to that one. It sort of gives me a control, if you will. And so as I get the first satellite up and get it perfectly round and exactly the way I want, I can see the orbital period that this satellite has. And then I'm going to match the second satellite and try to get it to where I believe will be the right location. I won't really know for sure where I want it until I get the third one in roughly the right spot, but pretty much get that one where I think it's going to be good, and then try to match that orbital period as well. And that is basically done by getting the apoapsis and periapsis as close as possible relative to the other one. I want it the same as the satellite one, right? So get these two things to have the exact same apoapsis and periapsis, but also, it's more important that I get the orbital period right, not the apoapsis and periapsis. And so that's what I'm more focusing on. You can see it on the screen right here. It's up at the top of the monitor there. And again, all these corrections that I'm making to try and get this to go up and down and all this stuff, I did it during the live stream. So if you were there, you know it. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of work. But once you get it set up, it is rewarding. So at this time, I've got 2 polar satellites going around Duna, as well as the initial fast satellite, race satellite, if you will, that I had as a relay to Kerbin. So I have an additional relay around Duna that's in a different orbit than the race one was. Then I have the science satellite, which is going to be around Duna as well to gather any types of science that are in orbit. Whenever we get a contract and we need to complete it, we can do that kind of thing. And the science satellite is in an eccentric orbit around Duna, to where the apoapsis is in high space above Duna and the periapsis is in low space above Duna. And that way, if there's a particular experiment that I have to make and it says take a temperature scan or something in low above Duna or something, I can do that. In addition to that, it's also inclined a bit so that I can have a really high probability of being over every biome that Duna offers at any given time in that orbit. The goal is to position these satellites to where I never have to move them, and I can always do any type of science contract that hits into my list. Basically, I can just say, oh, that's a contract. Well, I have a satellite in position. Let's just run it, and that's just free money. Basically, these satellites are supposed to, anyway, pay for themselves through repeated use of contracts that come from them. Of course, I also have another polar satellite that's getting the biome information as well as the resource information over Ike as well. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to use that information for, but I thought just to be a completionist for this sort of thing, we might as well put it in there. And if it proves useful in the future, maybe we want to land on Ike at some point. I don't know. But if we do find ourselves wanting to at any given point, we'll have all the information we'd ever need right there with the satellite. So. Of course, just to make sure I have all of the science experiments that are possible on these 2 science satellites, we are using the XScience Mod. Now, the XScience Mod doesn't integrate very well with RemoteTech. It has a feature in the XScience Mod that will basically just allow you to click buttons and it will perform those experiments for you, rather than you having to hunt down the actual equipment on the craft. I'm not using that feature, though, because that feature is not integrated with RemoteTech very well, and as a result, basically, I end up being able to ping a science experiment immediately, as opposed to having to wait for the signal delay. And I don't want to. I consider that to be a cheat, as far as I'm concerned. If I'm not getting the signal delay that I should have when I ping experiments, then I'm not going to be able to use that feature. So I'm not using that feature. Now, you might think that's not really that big of a deal, but it does create an additional layer of difficulty, because if my gravity experiment, for example, which is biome specific, if that is blinking at me, right, with the notification light right there, if it's blinking at me telling me that I have a science experiment available, or if a science experiment is showing up in the list and I go, okay, I want to go ahead and take that experiment, I can run the experiment, but I have to wait 35 seconds. And if that 35 seconds goes by and the craft has now moved into a different biome, now I can't get the experiment from the biome that it was blinking on. And I end up actually, for the most part, that's not a big deal, because these are still new bodies, right? These are still new things. Duna and Ike and all that stuff is still pretty new. But there's been a couple of times here, quite a few times actually, where I went to do the the experiment, and the craft moves into a biome where I already had that experiment done. And so by the time the signal delay happens, and by the time the equipment runs, it's basically a wasted time, wasted experiment. So it adds additional complexity, and that's the rules that I've put myself under. With using RemoteTech, I am gonna have the signal delay, and that's part of the challenge. And just like that, our satellite network is done. We've got a perfect triangle around Duna. Everything's cool. We got a perfect triangle with our satellites around Ike. I've got multiple satellites in polar orbits around Ike, multiple satellites in a polar and very inclined orbits around Duna. And I also have 2 satellites which are in an inclined orbit, both high and low, but in orbit, I guess, of both of these bodies as well. So if any science experiments are being told to me through contracts, we'll be able to do it on both of these. And that is the entire network. It is done. And I'm super excited to have that done, because now we can do some fun stuff around Duna, like the package that's going to be arriving, but it's going to take a while for it to arrive. We also have Eve coming up, as well as Erlem. And I want the Erlem craft to be built on the surface of Minmus. If I could get the Eve craft to be built, that would be great, but I don't think I'm going to have the material kits for it. I'm kind of hoping that I do. We'll see what happens. I might have to choose one instead of doing both. But either way, I do have some other things to show you in this episode, so let's send it over to me in real time to tell you all about that. All right, back at the Kerbal Space Center, we're all nice and quiet here. Lonely night. We have 1,400 science now from all the experiments we did around Duna. So we have enough now to unlock the final component that I need in order to fully get bases up and running and stuff. And that is orbital assembly. And it gives me some of these connectors, but the most important thing it gives me is the MKS Tundra assembly plant. This thing here is what's going to allow me to get things done, because it allows me to create things like I can create colony supplies. We can create machinery from this, so I don't have to send it anymore. We can create material kits, obviously, and we can also create specialized parts. So there's a whole lot of things that this thing can do, and that's the important component. So we're going to take that. Now that also unlocks something, or at least as far as eligible research is concerned, orbital megastructures. Big things like the orbital shipyard, right? But we don't need these for self-sufficient bases. But like I might look into it if the situation calls for it, but I don't need it. So that's the final component as far as our bases are concerned. So now what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to get that thing up onto Minmus. All right, so I don't necessarily want to ship it up there like on a rocket. I kind of like to do it in orbit if possible. So let's go ahead and see how much this thing actually costs. If we get the proper, right here, the assembly plant. So this is the module that we unlocked. It looks like it's supposed to go on a space station, like, you know, like the PISS kind of thing, but I'm gonna put it on the surface because that's where I need it. So probably gonna want to do something like some landing legs. Maybe these struts are probably okay. We'll just flip them around and put them like really high up. Maybe we'll need to rotate them a little bit too, I think. Having them be wide out like this probably won't be that bad of a deal. It's gonna look a little funny, but I think it's, in the end, it'll be a good idea. So this is gonna keep this thing from rolling around, which is what I want. I also want to get this kind of ducked in a little bit. Doesn't need to be. This is fine. They'll sit off the ground a little bit like that. That's gonna be good. So I'll need to do this on both sides. All right, so now that the legs are on there, and they don't really look symmetrical, but I've got the legs all measured out like in the grid and stuff, and they're totally fine, like right with each other. So it's totally cool. But we need to wait for the Kerbals to get inside this thing. And I don't know, like, I feel like I want them to like be able to see out of it like some glass. So I'm sort of leaning towards using like a cupola module, but I don't have a big enough one. I have the Lithobrake X3, which is as big as I have, so I guess we could use that one. Then we've got this thing up here on top. Or we could use the salamander. Ooh, hang on, what does this look like? Hey, that looks kind of nifty. I think I like this. The door on the side? Or the door on the bottom? I think the door on the bottom. You can kind of jump up to it. Maybe we get a ladder. We can install a ladder on this. That's an idea. Not opposed to it. Mobility enhancer. Excuse me. A mobility enhancer. This is an 8-meter ladder. I want like one of these. Yeah. And like we can extend the ladder down. Maybe a little rotation would be in order here, I think. Right, so the Kerbal can grab a hold of this. And like raise this up a little bit. I don't want it to be like in the door, but at the same time, they need to be able to access it from the door. So I think maybe this is fine. It's like a little ladder right here on the side. But then what do we do on the other side, right? Other side's got the same problem. I don't know. Like maybe some more like noms for life support. We have a nomomatic here we could use on the back side. Maybe. Looks okay. I think it looks fine. On the top of this, we could actually do like one of these little viewing cupolas, observation cupolas. If I can find a way to get it to actually hit. No, that's not it. Can you sink it down? Like that. There we go. Yes, I'm okay with that. So this is what we want to build on the surface. We need 5,500 and change on the material kits and 367 on the specialized parts. We get this into onto the base and we're golden, pretty much. I do want to make sure we have a way to receive like power and things like that. So I'm gonna need to have one of those parts that do that, but I can just add those before I put it up there. So let's just zoom ahead to the part where we have this on the surface, okay? All right, actually, before we go up to the surface, let me show you what we're gonna be working with here. So I'm gonna be deploying it pretty similar to how we've done it before with a big wide base that we're gonna, disassemble and it'll fall down. Got the wheels on it so we can control it, as well as, of course, the command seat so we can control it. Once we drop this out and we get rid of this stuff, it's gonna kind of want to tip, but because of how wide the base is, it shouldn't tip over. But once we get rid of this, it's gonna fall down onto this little mount here. It might have a tendency to roll then because of the shape of this module. So I've got these legs sticking really far wide out to prevent it from rolling. Once we get rid of this part here, it'll fall down again and really want to roll. So again, these legs are going to prevent that from happening. Then we're going to lower these legs, which are admittedly going to clip through the base. They're going to do it. That's just the way they are. Nothing I can do about that. But they come down low enough to where they're going to lift the module back off the ground. So once they're off the ground and they're on these legs, we can then go ahead and disassemble these legs. And then we're fully deployed at that point, which is really nice. We also have extra batteries I put underneath it, which is nice. And of course the power coupler so that we can receive power. So that had to be on there too. Everything else is looking pretty good. So now we need 6.75 whatever thousand material kits and 446 specialized parts. Once we have this module on Minmus, guys, we should be able to manufacture anything we want on the surface. That's, unless I've missed something important, which I don't think I have, we should be done after this is in there. So what do you think? Let's go build this thing. Okay guys, we're back on our familiar Minmus base, and I've already told them to go ahead and build it. So we've got the KS Ranch survey stake here. We switched it from barbecue to ranch. And let's go ahead and just have them build it. Let's do it. See what happens. All right, right on the stake. It's probably gonna destroy the stake. Usually does, or at least flatten it. Or it's gonna be fine. Yeah, totally fine. Cool. All right, so the base is on the surface. Now we need to figure out where to position it, and I kind of want to position it like right here next to all this stuff. So if I could, it's good. Yeah, it's gonna get that stake. Yeah, all right, let's back it up. And okay, this is exactly why we can't have nice things. All right, yeah, we'll just do this little wheelie thing for a second. And I'm just gonna go ahead and have Kit do this. I don't understand exactly how we're even able to steer this thing right now. How am I able to control this? There's no probe on this, is there? There's no comm signal available. This might have a built-in probe or something, but like there's no comm signal available. Also, these are totally the wrong way, and this is why I can't do it. So let's get the steering to be inverted here. That's better. Now we're good. If I go forward now, probably want to have the motors turned off in the back. Wow. Noob at the wheel here. Okay. Push forward. This should prevent us from... Oh dear. What? Why isn't it going... How am I not able to go forward? Control from here? Can we do that? Can we control from here? Please? I don't get why you're not able to go forward. Kit! Come and save me. Seriously, I don't understand why this thing isn't steering the way I expected it to, but Kit's on the case. He's like, let me show you how this is done, all right, noob? So we're gonna come all the way over here. We'll get inside this little command seat, which is where Kit loves to be, right in the command seat. All right, there it goes. That was odd. Like I had to invert it to get it to go the right way before, and now it's almost like it decided to invert its invert. Anyway, we're gonna get this thing down over here. And the idea is to just sort of hook it up to this module, which has the specialized parts, material kits, and stuff in it right there. So I want to get it hooked up there like that. And this is probably close enough, I think. Yeah, that's close enough. We'll go ahead and turn the brakes on. And we'll just go ahead and get started on our disassembly process. So, or we'll let it bounce around for a bit. Go ahead and leave the seat. Which you do in a very glorious, gracefully done fashion. Yep, it's just a trick, really. You're just doing a trick for the ladies. I get it. It's fine. You're like, check this out, ladies. I'll do a backflip out of the seat now, while I'm on a moon, in a spacesuit. That's even more impressive than being on a boat, I would argue. Like, I mean, ladies like the boats, don't get me wrong, but I mean, what if you had a spacesuit? And you had a spaceship, and you were on a moon. Like, come on. If you, I find that to be far more impressive. Ladies, back me up. I know you can't wear a bathing suit on Minmus. I mean, we all wish you could, but you can't. But look, oh, look at that. Look at that. Oh, you can see Kerbin. Look at this. Oh, that is so good. I don't think I've ever seen that. Like, I don't think I've actually gotten a good look at Kerbin like that, just from the surface like this. That's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. Oh yeah, that's cool. Okay, I'm done looking at this game, man. When I got back to Minmus after doing all the stuff with Duna, because it took like a couple of months, I think, to do things with Duna. It took a while. I don't know about a couple of months, but it took a while. When I got back here, everybody was a tourist, including my medic. And I just got ticked off. Like, not like to the point where I'm actually angry. It's hard to express exactly what the feeling was, but if I had to go with anything, I would say dramatically and over-exaggeratingly annoyed with the fact that this happened. Everyone was a tourist, and I'm like, nah, we're not doing this. We're not having this. This is a stupid system. It is absolutely not balanced. It's just absolutely terrible. So habitation has been dramatically neutered. It's still active. I'm probably gonna shut it off, but it's dramatically neutered now. The base habitation time is now 20 times its normal habitation time. So these guys have 2 years on their hab timers now. I'm over it. I'm completely over all of it. Like, not gonna deal with it. All right, so, because habitation, it doesn't make any sense. If it made sense, then fine, but it doesn't make sense. And even if it did make sense, at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and say it just makes the game unfun. It completely it destroys my experience of playing KSP, so I'm gonna turn it off. All right, so I think we can get Shane out there now. Disassemble. All right, we're gonna go after the wheels now. Now this base should be wide enough to where we don't have to worry about it like tipping over. It should be wide enough to support this. So let's give this a shot. Go like this, we'll say disassemble right now. Go ahead, disassemble this one right now. Should fall straight down to the side, hopefully. But again, not tip over because it's really wide base. Come on, come on. Oh, there we go. All right, get over towards this. Or towards this wheel. And go. And go. Should fall flat on its side now. Good. Let's go ahead and disassemble this. Why can't I? There it goes. So that disappears. It should fall straight down on top of this base now. And then disassemble this part. It should fall straight down and want to roll, but the legs will keep it in place. Then we can go ahead and get those landing legs put down. So we'll leave you there for a second. Come over to the assembly plant, and we're gonna go ahead and put the landing gear down. Or pick the landing gear up. That's the thing we can do too. Okay, that's fine, that's fine. Not as fine as expected. Are you kidding me right now? Oh shit. Oh, come on. Oh, this. Well, you know, it's like it lowers all the legs down completely full, and then it's like, oh, that counts as a jump. I suppose they did come down kind of quick, but it worked. It worked. So there you go. See? All right, we'll get rid of this and this, and all these material kits, of course, are getting stored, so we're getting some of them back, right? There's no waste. There's also a radial attachment point probably on the bottom of this. I'm kind of thinking I want to get in there and see if I can get rid of it. It's in there somewhere. I just have to find it. It's probably radial attachment point right there. See? And that gets rid of a part. Because I needed to put the radial attachment point in order to get it to actually attach to that base. I could have used it as a structural element or something, but then I would have still had to put the radial attachment point on the big, the big structure there, the big plate. You get it? The big square thing that we just took away. Disassemble this, and one last one, and we've got ourselves an assembly plant. So there you go. Let's see if we can get Shane inside this module. And I'm gonna do it by basically just taking this ladder. I wanna make sure this ladder works too. Extend the ladder down. Looks awesome. Grab the ladder. Up we go. And into the door. Sweet. So we have somebody in the assembly plant now, and it's not directly connected, but we're gonna directly connect it. But I just wanted to make sure we could get in there. It looks like it's also black here. Maybe there's no cockpit view or something for that. Don't know. Looks like the thing really wants to bounce around when you get in and out of it too. It's kind of a concern. Look at this thing. What is this doing? What are you doing? Stop. You're mad. This is absolute madness. These things are so springy. Can I somehow, like, how do you even lift, bro? I mean, whoa, what are you doing, camera? Like, how do I get this to not do that when you get out of it? Like, are you kidding me right now? That's so stupid. Physics in this game, man. I don't think I can. I don't think there's any way to actually stop that from happening. I might be able to have it just sit there on its, maybe able to have it sit there on its batteries. You know, let's quick save this for a second, because if that's gonna be the case, if that's what that's gonna do, then I don't want these legs, because these legs are probably causing that instability. Yeah, look at this. It's gonna go all over the place. Let go of this. It's bouncing everywhere. So let's try this instead. We're gonna go like this instead. Let's retract the ladder. And this is gonna be very hard to do because I've already kind of made this to where it's not designed for this anymore. You know, like I made it to where it's gonna sit on these legs, but shit, man. What if I can just tether this down to something? I bet if I connect this, it'll be a lot less. You know what? Let's do that. I bet if I connect this, it'll be a lot less of an issue. When I go like this, no, get this. Thank you. Will that create additional stability for this thing? I wonder. It's directly connected to these resources now, so it should be able to take the resources and, you know, do its thing. But I'm just concerned about this now. Maybe it's the ladder? Okay. Okay. Kraken? Hello? Oh, what? I don't understand. He has like escape velocity or some shit right now. Come on. You gotta be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. Shane, you're one-upping Kit right now. The ladies are just freaking out about you right now. How do I stop the spinning? How do I stop the spinning? I gotta stop the spinning, otherwise I can't control him. Like, the hell is happening here? How do I stop the spinning? He's so out of control right now. He's spinning like crazy right now. Come on. Come on, bring him back, bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. He's out of propellant now, isn't it? Yeah, he is. Completely out of propellant now. And why? I'm at 1x speed. This is what I'm talking about, you guys. This kind of shit. You wanna know why KSP takes so long to record? It's this stuff. I'm not even gonna cut this out. I'm gonna let it exist. I'm gonna let you see it. Normally I'd be like, no, this is stupid, let's reload. But like, this is why we quick save all the time. This is the kind of shit that makes me quick save constantly. Like, there is so much that's completely inaccurate about this entire situation. That's all I'm gonna say about it. Is he gonna die now? I mean, kind of. He's pretty mangled. He seems to be not spinning uncontrollably now, but we don't have any monopropellant because the game decided to use it all, despite the fact that he had just gotten out of that module. He wasn't even like going around that much. Ugh. All right, well, Shane, good job. Good trick, man. I think you beat Tony Hawk in revolutions per jump. I think your kick flips there were quite impressive. I don't think that record's gonna be broken anytime soon. It had to be at least 500 revolutions. I mean, we are going to move back to the base at 1.3 meters per second and attempt to get into a module so that we can have our monopropellant back. And hopefully, when we get into a module, it will not involve a huge series of spinning out of control. The good news is I managed to fling him between the panels and the radiators. So like he basically just missed both of them. He just flew between them. It was a giant field goal, basically. A Shane Kerman field goal. That's what we're gonna call this episode, Shane Kerman field goal. No, I'm not gonna call this episode that, but anyone who watched it till the end will see it. So anyway, I'm not gonna make you watch this entire journey. Look at this. Look at this. Material kits right here. Look at this. 0.02. Negative 0.02. We are producing material kits. We're making our own now. 6,030 is what we have. Let's do a little time acceleration. 6,031. Do some more time acceleration. Oh, I'm in physics time warp. Hang on. Let's get out of physics time warp first. I was transferring some resources around, and I needed to speed it up by doing that. So let's go into real time warp here, about 100 times speed. And let's watch these go up. 6,034, 6,035, 6,036. Oh yeah. And you can see we are using power, but it keeps getting replenished because of this module sending power, right? Because we're hooking it up with these. Whoop, hang on. Sorry about that. Jittery camera, man. We're hooking it up with these, right? Any unit, any module that has these can receive power from this. So we're able to kind of, it's like think of it like an invisible power cable, right? An extension cord is running through here, but we don't actually see it. So yeah, we're now producing material kits. Oh, fantastic. Now the question is, can I produce enough in time to build these crafts that I need for these missions? We have 116 days. By the speed of this, I think we can, because it's only been like 1 day, and I've already made almost 100 material kits out of it. So that tells me I should be able to pull out and get like 11K, which is more than I need for Erlem, I think. We'll see. I might be able to speed this up somehow too, production on this. I am curious to see though whether or not I can leave this going overnight, because this will not be getting power overnight. So I kind of want to see what the power drain is once it starts to nighttime here. So let's speed up time a little bit more. And we should have no solar energy right now. Let me double check this. And zoom out really quick. What are you seeing? I can't actually tell. Let me go to a different module. Survey stake, resource load, KS storage, and ground-based base. So if I do this, I should see 0. Yeah. So total power usage now is dropping probably. If I speed up time a little bit, probably should see our storage drop. It doesn't look like it is though. No, our fuel cells are keeping up. So the fuel cells are kicking in now, and they are working really well. Look at this. We're starting to use it, but yeah, we're using oxidizer and liquid fuel to keep the power on, which is great. We can also then use the ore to manufacture more fuel, dump the fuel in here, and then keep the power on. So as long as we're drilling for ore, we'll be able to keep the power on here. Now, I don't think we're drilling with all the drills right now, are we? I don't think we're doing it with all the drills. I know we have most of the drills running. This is all getting ore right now. Yep, metallic ore, rare metals, all that stuff is drilling. So we should have, essentially, this is a closed loop system, right? This is supposedly a closed loop system right now. I don't believe there's anything else I need to add to the space. With 6,000 material kits though, there's not enough to open this habitation module. So I can open that up later. And not that it matters as much, because I neutered the hab times severely, because screw that. But it's still, it's a good base, and to have this many people on there, you would typically want to have the habitation module open. So that's it. That's this episode. We're done. Minmus is done. I just need to let this run and let this get the material kits that we require to perform the job. We're already at how many? How many? Where is it? Material kits. 490. Oh, that's what's in this craft. Yeah, this craft is separate, so this doesn't have a whole lot left in it. I wonder if it's possible to do planetary logistics and do it. I'm pretty sure it is, but it doesn't really matter. It's 490, it doesn't matter. But that's gonna do it for this episode, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. It's an awful lot of time for this one, so I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, and comment down below and let me know whatever your thoughts are. It's cool. I want to communicate with you. I will do my best to reply to every single person who comments on this video from now until the foreseeable near future. So if you want to talk, let's do it. Just tell me something and we'll talk about it. Maybe it's KSP related. Maybe it's another game you think I should play. I don't know. I'm Charlie. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.